Suicide Prevention Megathread. With the news today of the passing of the amazing Anthony Bourdain and the also the very talented Kate Spade a couple of days ago, we decided to create a megathread about suicide prevention. So many great and talented people have left the world by way of suicide. Not just those are famous, but friends and family members of everyday people. That's why we would like to use this thread for those that have been affected by the suicide of someone to tell your story, or if you yourself have almost ended your life, tell us about what changed. If you are currently feeling suicidal, we'd like to offer some resources that might be has global resources and link. Be respectful and remember the human while participating in this thread, and thank you to everyone that chooses to share their stories. The AskReddit moderators. A person from my past reaching out to me, even for 5 minutes, does exceptionally more for my mental well-being than seeing 10,000 Redditors spam the numbers for different suicide prevention hotlines. Please reach out to the people in your life. You can keep it as light as you want. We're social creatures, and even limited interaction goes a very long way. My brother committed suicide when I was 8. He was 15. My dad has been abusive, but my brother suffered the most from him. He was my hero. I looked up to him and wanted to be like him. He'd take the fall for me when I did something that would cause my dad to punish me. I remember that morning vividly. I got back from school the previous day and went to go hang out with him in his room, but his door was locked. I kept coming back, but he wouldn't answer the door. My parents weren't worried because my brother usually kept to himself like that. When it was time for bed, I told my dad to see if he could get the door open, and he told me not to bother my brother again. After my brother didn't come down for breakfast, my father broke his door and we found him hanging from the ceiling. I wish I didn't see that. I screamed the entire time and wouldn't let go of his hand. It felt cold and my mother had to peel me away. He left a suicide note and a handwritten will. He left me his favorite book. I miss you, Jeff. Edit. Thank you so much everyone for the love. Edit. 2. My dad kept repeating, "Why Jeffrey? Why?" and tried to get him down from the fan. I was screaming, "Please Jeff," and pulling his hand, and when my mom couldn't separate our hands she pulled me away. She was crying so hard. I remember kicking my legs in the air and screaming, "You should have opened his door for me." Edit 3. The book is Animal Farm by George Orwell. I always carry it with me now. Whenever he'd read it to me I'd make fun of how the big words sounded funny and we'd laugh. There wasn't much in his will. He left me the book and his Game Boy. He left my mom his wristwatch. My dad didn't get anything in the will. Edit 4. Wow, I woke up to a ton of supportive messages and so much love. Thank you for all your kind words. I've never spoken about the details before and I pray this helps someone who is struggling. To all the Jeffs, I know it's hard, but please be strong. You don't want to have your family calling your name and you not answering. It's the most painful thing ever. For years I had nightmares of trying to save him, but each time I'd get there too late. In his note he said he was really sorry and didn't mean to hurt any of us, but he just couldn't bear the pain anymore. He said he hoped it would make my dad stop being disappointed in him and called me his best bud in the world. He told my mom he loved her and hoped she'd find the courage he didn't have. Thanks to all the gold X4. I'm the mother of a toddler who died of cancer. There is nothing anyone could do to prevent me from killing myself besides listening and being present. I didn't reach out to anyone. Being suicidal means you want to die. No one could have talked me out of it. My family knew I was struggling and they took shifts watching me. They bought me my favorite foods, watched RuPaul's Drag Race with me for weeks, seriously. For some reason it was the only thing I could watch. They listened to me cry and didn't try to give me solutions. They just said, "I know." We had a code word, potato. If I said potato, that meant that I needed someone to be physically present with me. Quickly. There was always a plan for the next day. Tomorrow we're going to have lunch at that Mexican place, okay? Tomorrow let's look for a special garden marker for Miles. I think that was a big part of it. Having a plan for the next day meant I had to keep going. It's been almost 4 months since my 3-year-old died and I'm still living. That's pretty fucking amazing. My mom killed herself on April 22 of this year. My dad found her naked, fallen off the side of the bed, with 3 empty pill bottles, 2 knives, and a razor. She was covered in vomit. The ambulance came, but she was unresponsive. They waited until I arrived to ask if they could stop resuscitation attempts, which they tried to do for over an hour. We went in when they stopped. She was half covered with a sheet, there was a lot of blood and vomit. Her ribs were broken from resuscitation attempts. She was just gone. My dad and I are totally lost. Last December I checked into a psych ward instead of killing myself. Fuck depression. I attempted suicide at 19. I think the hardest thing for non-suicidal people to understand is that a lot of suicidal people don't want to kill themselves, they just want to stop existing. Actually going through the steps of writing a note and taking the pills was extremely difficult, and all I kept thinking the whole time was that it would be so much easier if I could just fall asleep and never wake up. It was scary to think that I was potentially killing myself, whereas a death I couldn't control or had less control over would just happen. Then there's everyone and everything else to consider. I also have caught myself wishing many times that the whole world would end so that I could stop existing, but then neither myself nor my loved ones would have to deal with the pain or miss out on a good life. I found those things really hard to articulate at 19. It's how a lot of depressed people feel. I wish this was up last week. A very close friend of mine committed suicide in the second. She was only 19 and could light up a room when she came in. The worst thing is feeling like I could have stopped her. After work the day before, she asked me if I wanted to go out. I didn't because I was tired and had to clean. My heart hurts. Her memorial was yesterday. It's still such a raw wound. I'm sorry I had to get this off my chest. Edit. Thank you all who've messaged me or replied with support and their own experiences. I know logically it wasn't my fault, but emotionally it hurts. I'm slowly starting to accept what happened, but it will be a while before I'll be back to normal. Also to the asshat that messaged me and told me it was my fault, go fuck yourself. By the way, I wish there was a suicide chat line and not a hotline. I don't like speaking out loud to a person about any issues I might be having. Their link. I'm now 2 for 2 in suicide attempts, being stopped by my cat. Just her staring and meowing. Always have something or someone nearby. That might just save you. I did not write this but have permission to share. Just saw this elsewhere on the internet in reference to recent events. For obvious reasons, at least, for anyone who has had to listen to me bitch about how much I hate winter, it really resonated with me. When you have depression, it's like it snows every day. Some days it's only a couple of inches. It's a pain in the ass, but you still make it to work, the grocery store. Sure, maybe you skip the gym or your friend's birthday party, but it is still snowing and who knows how bad it might get tonight. Probably better to just head home. Your friend notices, but probably just thinks you are flaky now, or kind of an asshole. Some days it snows a foot. You spend an hour shoveling out your driveway and are late to work. Your back and hands hurt from shoveling. You leave early because it's really coming down out there. Your boss notices. Some days it snows 4 feet. You shovel all morning but your street never gets plowed. You are not making it to work, or anywhere else for that matter. You are so sore and tired you just get back in bed. By the time you wake up, all your shoveling has filled back in with snow. Looks like your phone rang. People are wondering where you are. You don't feel like calling them back, too tired from all the shoveling. Plus they don't get this much snow at their house, so they don't understand why you're still stuck at home. They just think you're lazy or weak, although they rarely come out and say it. Some weeks it's a full-blown blizzard. When you open your door, it's to a wall of snow. The power flickers, then goes out. It's too cold to sit in the living room anymore, so you get back into bed with all your clothes on. The stove and microwave won't work, so you eat a cold Pop-Tart and call that dinner. You haven't taken a shower in 3 days, but how could you at this point? You're too cold to do anything except sleep. Sometimes people get snowed in for the winter. The cold seeps in. No communication in or out. The food runs out. What can you even do? Tunnel out of a 40-foot snowbank with your hands. How far away is help? Can you even get there in a blizzard? If you do, can they even help you at this point? Maybe it's death to stay here, but it's death to go out there too. The thing is, when it snows all the time, you get worn all the way down. You get tired of being cold. You get tired of hurting all the time from shoveling, but if you don't shovel on the light days, it builds up to something unmanageable on the heavy days. You resent the hell out of the snow, but it doesn't care, it's just a blind chemistry, an act of nature. It carries on regardless, unconcerned and unaware if it buries you or the whole world. Also, the snow builds up in other areas, places you can't shovel, sometimes places you can't even see. Maybe it's on the roof. Maybe it's on the mountain behind the house. Sometimes, there's an avalanche that blows the house right off its foundation and takes you with it. A veritable act of God, nothing can be done. The neighbors say it's a shame and they can't understand it. He was doing so well with his shoveling. I don't know how it went down for Anthony Bourdain or Kate Spade. It seems like they got hit by the avalanche, but it could have been the long, slow winter. Maybe they were keeping up with their shoveling. Maybe they weren't. Sometimes, shoveling isn't enough anyway. It's hard to tell from the outside, but it's important to understand what it's like from the inside. I firmly believe that understanding and compassion have to be the base of effective action. It's important to understand what depression is, how it feels, what it's like to live with it, so you can help people both on an individual basis and a policy basis. I'm not putting heavy shit out here to make your Friday morning suck. I know it feels gross to read it, and realistically it can be unpleasant to be around it, that's why people pull away. I don't have a message for people with depression like, keep shoveling. It's asinine. Of course you're going to keep shoveling the best you can, until you physically can't, because who wants to freeze to death inside their own house? We know what the stakes are. My message is to everyone else. Grab a fucking shovel and help your neighbor. Slap a mini snowplow on the front of your truck and plow your neighborhood. Petition the city council to buy more salt trucks, so to speak. Depression is blind chemistry. And physics, like snow. And like the weather, it is a mindless process, powerful and unpredictable with great potential for harm. But like climate change, that doesn't mean we are helpless. If we want to stop losing so many people to this disease, it will require action at every level. Edit. Feel free to share this with anyone or anywhere you think it might help. We aren't alone. Even when there's warm bodies around, when we are cold we still shiver. Offer a blanket. Edit 2. I just want to say thank you and you're welcome to everyone who is commenting and can relate. You're not alone. Not just me, but many of us truly understand how you feel. But I won't tell you what to do. We who suffer have been told time and again what to do. But if someone offers you a blanket, sometimes the warmth can help. Edit 3. I'm trying to comment on everyone that is posting and thanking me for sharing. I think it's important that everyone is acknowledged that took the time to share their thoughts. Everyone matters. Thank you to whoever gave me my first gold. And all the gold after. It was absolutely not necessary but very much appreciated. Please share. Thank you. Bourdain's death really bothers me for a specific reason. I think, like many people my age, I struggle with trying to find a vocation that gives me happiness. We're millennials, and we were raised with the idea that we could do whatever we wanted. So when reality hit like a truck, and we found ourselves working the same boring job that 99% of us were going to get, we found ourselves perpetually unsatisfied with our lives. That's why so many of us struggle with depression. What I hear often is that the true way to happiness is to explore the world, to see culture, to meet people, and to grow that way as a person. That was literally Anthony Bourdain's job. He got paid millions to travel the world, to see culture, to meet people, and to grow. And he killed himself. So what hope does that give to the rest of us? I guess take solace in learning that having all those nice things doesn't make your personal issues, and the base human experience of dread that we all have, go away. Therefore relieve yourself of the extra burden of the unhealthy belief that you're worse off for not having them. Thank you, kind person who gave gold. Take care of yourselves out there. When I was a teenager I had bad problems with depression and anxiety that led to very self-destructive behavior. There were many times I imagined killing myself, and one night I was set on doing it. Came home drunk and sad and started cutting myself, which was one of my methods for dealing with my emotions. I sat in my bed crying, trying to find the courage to cut deeper and end it. Then my dog Snoopy hopped up on the bed and put his head on my lap. Thanks to him I realized that I just couldn't do that to him or to my parents and friends. He saved my life that night. The next day I decided to open up to my parents and ask them to help me find some help, which was a huge step forward. Sometimes all it takes is a reminder that someone loves you to help you start trying to love yourself. I was suicidal about 6 months ago after my girlfriend, lifelong best friend, left me. I decided I finally needed help. I knew I had deep issues but didn't want to deal with them. I always masked them and found ways to distract myself. I went to my family doctor and got referred to a psychiatrist, and I've been seeing a few for the last couple months. I feel very proud to say that this week has been my first week in years that I can say I've been genuinely happy and proud of myself. It gets better. It genuinely does. Even when you're in the deepest hole. But you can't do it alone. You can't just cover over your issues. You need to destroy them. In Canada, you can get referred to therapists for free by your family doctor. It takes a long time, but the wait is worth it. In the meantime, tell your friends. If they're your true friends, they'll understand. And, if you're like me, you'll find out that they're going through the same thing. Edit. Wow. Didn't expect such a huge response. I didn't even expect anybody to see this. Thank you everybody for the kind words. Unfortunately, not everything works for everybody. I also have no idea how things work in the US. If somebody has gotten help in the States, please respond to a few comments below. Edit 2. Thanks for the gold. Also, it appears that some places in Canada you do not get free therapists. Hopefully it'll be easier for everybody one day. I bought a dog. I have a very busy life, so people ask me if I regret having her, since dogs are all high maintenance. I need to walk her a few times a day, feed her, keep her entertained, clean up after her, remove dog hair from everything including myself with an unending supply of lint rollers. I don't regret it. I got her for one purpose that I won't tell them. Because I'm lonely. Because when I'm at my loneliest, I don't have anyone to turn to, no one to go see, to talk to, despite my best efforts. I have her because I know if I died, something would miss me, so I can't leave her. I left her at the dog boarding for an extra day after getting back from a work trip, earlier this week. I found myself calling for her, and she wouldn't come. For the first time in years, I just cried. I missed her. I wanted to sit on the couch and just pet her like she always loves. Fortunately, I could just grab her the next day. But it reminded me how important she is to my mental health. I recently turned down a job that would have required me to move to a place where I would have even less familial and friend support. I would have been traveling most of the year, so I would have to give up my dog. I'm glad I did. I had one friend tell me to absolutely not take the job. He said if I took it, he gave me 6 months before I jumped off a bridge. I can't say he would be wrong. I used work to redirect my loneliness over the past several years, which ended up making it worse as it alienated me from those that I was close to. And then the company abandoned me. Hired someone above me that openly tells people inside and outside of the company that he's trying to fire me. I have the CEO and president behind me, so he can't touch me. They know what I did for the company, my sacrifice, my skill, my dedication and loyalty. I now have much less responsibilities, so I can relax. Now, I'm here, with my dog, trying to decompress from my job, make more friends, actually date girls for the first time in many years of unsuccessfully trying. Things are starting to look better. Here's to better days. I called my doctor today. Time to get this shit sorted out. Should add that this isn't as huge and sudden as it sounds. Been living with this for more than 10 years, and I've been back on medication for a few months now after a full year off them. But things like Bourdain's suicide and Scott Hutchison's in particular, which really punched me in the gut, are a reminder that I need to take this more seriously instead of just munching the pills and hoping it'll go away again. Thank you for the supportive messages though. You'd be surprised how much a difference they sometimes make. This will get buried, but until just recently my major depressive disorder was in remission. Something happened about 2 months ago that turned my life upside down, and as a result, I've recently been struggling with suicidal thoughts. They've been escalating, inch by inch. I read through maybe 30 responses on this thread and am nearly in tears at my desk. I needed to be reminded that I am not alone and that the metaphorical demon that is depression haunts so many people on this earth. I cannot give up or give in. I needed this today to motivate me to stay the course. I beat this once, I can do it again. One of my favorite quotes is by Winston Churchill. When you're going through hell, keep going. Thank you to everyone contributing to this thread.